How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Hopefully everyone's having a swell day. So, of recent, we've seen Kevin Huber re-up with the Cincinnati Bengals. There's a lot of talk about him retiring after this season. Drue Chrisman coming in, taking over punting duties for the Bengals. But instead, it appears we're going to have ourselves an old-fashioned competition between these two entering training camp for the Cincinnati Bengals team. Kevin Huber, the long mainstay with the Bengals now, going to be 37 years old entering the 2022 season. Then you have Drue Chrisman, took that year off last year. 2020 is his last year playing with the Ohio State Buckeyes. The youngster, the potential guy that could be your punter for the next 13 years like Kevin Huber was. But then you have Kevin Huber, who's been that grizzled veteran, the guy that's been around. He knows what he's doing. The battery, if you will, baseball term, the battery, though, of that long snapper, that placeholder, and the kicker staying glued together, having that chemistry going into next year. It can do wonders for a kicker and his confidence, opposed to seeing those fumbled snaps. And that goes, a completely different direction as opposed to just keeping a guy like Kevin Huber as far as a punter is concerned. That's probably weighing a little bit in there as well. Not a lot, because you should be able to find somebody that can do that job, but you can't take that job for granted either, not in the NFL. Not when it just takes, again, a couple fumbled snaps. We've seen it at times. Remember Shane Graham? Perfect example. It started with a couple bad snaps, a couple, misalignments, if you will, of the ball. And then he started shanking left and right. There was a point in time he was the most accurate kicker in the NFL, and all of a sudden, things started to fall apart for him. I don't feel that'll happen with Evan McPherson. That guy just feels like he has another level of confidence, but we've seen that sort of thing cause issues in the kicking game before. Nonetheless, you got to consider getting younger. You got to start looking towards the future. And you look at a guy like Drue Chrisman, who 45% of his punts with the Ohio State Buckeyes inside the 20. That's opposed to Kevin Huber, who has landed about 33% of his punts inside the 20 over the last 3 seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals team. Now, he has Drue Chrisman an edge by a couple percentage points with about 35 to about 33 when it comes to 50-plus yarders. But it's kind of, again, a little bit more difficult to look at something like that, considering, playing for the Buckeyes, playing in college, you just don't have as long of a field playing for the Buckeyes to go out there and say they're nailing near as many 50s. Now you can play that game with Kevin Huber now with the Bengals in their offense, but he has historically had, more of an opportunity to drill them 50-yarders, if you will. As far as Kevin Huber is concerned, last season he ranked 18th in the NFL as far as average yards per punt. And again, Chrisman, no backstory to go on besides his college stats here. And I think you look at these two and you think about the future, and that is what the Bengals are very much doing right now. We've seen it in the draft. Drafted a lot of for the future players, but expecting to replace some safeties out there after this next season. And you expect, one more year for now, Kevin Huber maybe walking out the door. And if you wait one more year, maybe you let Chrisman go. He finds another team. He's got a job there, and that opportunity's out the door. And it's not saying you can't find another punter, but Chrisman here could be a guy that sticks with the Bengals for, again, 10, 12, 13 years. Huber might give you 1, might give you 2. You look at that consistency. He was a very consistent punter in college. And you bring that to the NFL, that's kind of what you really hope for here. Get the ball inside the 20 and some consistency out of your punter. If you get those two things, you're looking pretty promising, especially for a Bengals team where you don't expect them to, again, punt as much as they have in the past. At least you're not going to be thinking about the punt game. You don't think about the punt game until you see mistakes on the punt game. And I think Chrisman's a guy that's going to avoid those mistakes. I think ultimately, again, you're the Bengals, you play for the future. I think he ends up, and it's tough to take a guy like Kevin Huber's job, but I think he ends up winning this out come training camp and becoming the future of the Bengals back there. Love you guys' thoughts. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.